Easy Explain the Empiricism of John Locke, Part 1. Starting off with a brief introduction here. John Locke was born in England in 1632, and he died there as well in 1704. So, most of the 1600s, he was one of the largest thought leaders in academic and scholarly England. What you might know him for, his big work, his most famous work, was called An Essay Concerning Human Understanding. That was originally published in 1689, and in this he's really popularizing his own brand of philosophy. It's going to be called empiricism, which derives from the Greek. Essentially means it's based on experience. So what does this mean for Locke? Everything we know, learn, and understand, right? Everything cognitive, everything mental, comes from experience. It's coming from our sense perceptions, our sensations, how we perceive them, how we process them in our brains. And that being said, we all start as tabula rasas, or blank slates. Like, tabula rasa is just the Latin phrase that Locke is using here, but he's describing our brains as blank slates. Everything that comes in, everything we come to know, had to first come in through our sense perceptions, through things that we experience. So to put this into a little bit of context, this is largely going against rationalism. Quick review of what rationalism is. That's Descartes, Spinoza, and Leibniz. Largely, they're the big three. They hold this position that innate ideas are a thing. You can have those in your brain, and you can come to know them through reason. If you reason logically and properly, you can come to know these things in your mind. Empiricism, really starting off with Locke here, is going to argue against this concept, right? That innate ideas, what are those? Where do they come from? Do they even exist? How do we get our ideas? And what powers do our minds actually have? So to break down his essay, he actually structures it into 4 books. Here are the titles. Book 1 is of innate notions. Book 2 is of ideas. Book 3 is of words. And Book 4 is of knowledge and opinion. In Part 1 here, we're going to look at Book 1 and Book 2 of innate notions and ideas. In Part 2, we're going to look at the latter 2 books. So to get into Book 1 here of innate notions, Locke says in Chapter 1, his introduction, paragraph 8, what idea stands for, whatsoever is the object of the understanding when a man thinks. Whatever it is, which the mind can be employed about in thinking. Right? He's not doing much with this definition. What is an idea? It is the object of your understanding. It is your thought, right? It is what you are thinking about. It is the action of the mind. Moving on to Chapter 2, when he starts to address how there are no innate principles in the mind, going right against rationalism. In paragraph 15, he says, the senses at first let in particular ideas and furnish the yet empty cabinet, the blank slate. And the mind, by degrees growing familiar with some of them, they are lodged in the memory, and names got to them. Afterwards, the mind, proceeding farther, abstracts them, and by degrees learn the use of general names. In this manner, the mind comes to be furnished with ideas and language, no longer a blank slate. Moving on to Chapter 4, other considerations concerning innate principles. In paragraph 2, Locke says, one may perceive how by degrees, afterwards, ideas come into their minds, and that they get no more nor no other than what experience and the observation of things that come in their way furnish them with, which might be enough to satisfy us that they are not original characters stamped on the mind. So he's saying, if you think about this, if you reflect, if you look back, you're going to notice that every idea you have came from something you experienced, something you sensed and perceived. That's how they end up in your mind. Very quickly, just one brief selection from Book 2 here of ideas. In Chapter 1, of ideas in general and their original. In paragraph 2, Locke says, all ideas come from sensation or reflection. Let us then suppose the mind to be, as we say, white paper, a blank slate, void of all characters, without any ideas. How comes it to be furnished? To this I answer in one word, from experience, and that all our knowledge is founded, and from that it ultimately derives itself. So I think this is a really good sum up, a really good overview of Locke's stance on ideas and where they come from, how we get them from experience, how we take that blank slate and furnish it, how we fill it up. So for now, I hope this helps.